That story of self-determination began 6 months ago in Tunisia. On December 17th, a young vendor named Mohamed Bouazizi was devastated when a police officer confiscated his cart. This was not unique. It's the same kind of humiliation that takes place every day in many parts of the world. The relentless tyranny of governments that deny their citizens dignity. Only this time, something different happened. After local officials refused to hear his complaints, this young man, who had never been particularly active in politics, went to the headquarters of the provincial government, doused himself in fuel, and lit himself on fire.
Can one person make a difference? In a world of over 7 billion people, does one person really matter? We often think we have no impact on our world. We are simply one of billions. Millions of soldiers have died in battle. Did their individual deaths determine the outcome of the war? Who won and who lost? This National History Day documentary examines the Arab Spring Uprising, which was triggered by the protest suicide of Mohamed Bouazizi in 2010. As part of this project, we interviewed Mr. Riyad Safadi, a native of Jordan, to get his and his family's impressions of the Arab Spring Uprising, protests in the Middle East, and the impact one person can make. We also wanted to examine the role that social media had on spreading information and fanning the flames of protest.
Of course, yes, one person can make a huge, huge change. And history is full of those examples of how one person can really, really make huge change.
Mohamed Bouazizi was a 26-year-old Tunisian street vendor who set himself on fire on December 17, 2010, in response to his fruit and vegetable stand being confiscated by municipal officials. Fed up by his continual harassment by government officials, he set himself on fire in front of the municipal building and died on January 4, 2011. Little did he know that his act would be the catalyst, the trigger that would lead to governments being toppled, political reform, and civil wars that still rage today. We asked Mr. Safadi how closely he followed the events in Tunisia at the end of 2010 and at the beginning of 2011.
Very closely, very closely. It was an event, a life-changing event, something that I never thought in my lifetime it could happen. And when you hear something like that, it would. Not necessarily his death, but the aftermath of his death, what was happening in the country, the overthrow of the president there, that was a life-changing event, and it changed a lot of the events afterwards, so I was following it very closely.
Were you in close contact with your family during this time? How did you stay in touch?
Yes, I was in contact with them. And nowadays it's so easy to call people, just pick up your cell phone and call people, or on your computer on Skype. So I was in contact with them. Family are very close back home in Jordan. The Arab culture is very close, with families. So even before the events, we would talk quite a bit, whether on Skype or some other means. But during the events, the conversation, of course, had to do with what was happening at the time.
For the first time in history, social media was used and was integral in triggering a revolution.
Extraordinary event to tell you about overseas. Here in Washington and around the world, everyone watched what they are calling the Twitter uprising. An extraordinary act of daring in the country of Tunisia. People took to the streets, rose up, and forced out one of the toughest dictators on earth. So how did tweets change the world today? Here's Lama Hassan.
Anger erupted onto the streets today by police rushing a crowd carrying banners reading, "Yes, we can," using tear gas and then live rounds to disperse them. It was enough to bring down the government and force the nation's president to flee.
What are your thoughts and impressions on the role and impact of social media on the Arab Spring uprising?
Social media helped accelerate that communication and talking to my family, whether it's Skype, WhatsApp, or any other media that we had available to us at the time.
The events in Tunisia rapidly spread throughout North Africa and the Middle East during the spring and early summer of 2011. There were major and minor protests, civil disorder, revolution, promises of governmental change, and even the beginnings of civil war. We asked Mr. Sofadi about what was happening in Jordan.
It affected Jordan significantly during those events. There were some uprisings, there were vigils and demonstrations in the streets. In fact, every Friday after the prayer, there had been people protesting the conditions in Jordan. I can tell you for a fact that it definitely affected the country and King Abdullah and forced them to make a lot of changes at the time.
There were many governmental responses to the Arab Spring uprisings in their countries. There were outright revolutions and regime changes in Tunisia and Egypt. In Jordan and other countries, the governments in power promised change. Libya and Syria spiraled into a chaotic and deadly civil war. Mr. Safadi expressed his thoughts on this.
Right now, if I have to tell you whether it's positive or negative, it has impacted the Arab countries negatively at this point, because to some extent the autocrats and the people in power realized that they could lose power just like that, and they don't want to have that. So they've entrenched themselves in more things to do that prevent someone like Mohammed Bouazizi and what happened after that to take power.
Despite these many positive changes, what is the impact and legacy of Mohammed Bouazizi?
How Mohammed Bouazizi death impacted Arabs and the Arab Spring and the Arab countries. I think it's still being written, the effects.
Our documentary shows that indeed one person can make a difference. Mohammed Bouazizi is hailed as a hero in many countries. Social media has revolutionized how ordinary citizens can engage in protests.